Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. As we continue our 2 weeks following Mother's Day with the theme of good and bad mothers in the Bible, I have to say that Rebekah astounds me. I know that marriage in ancient biblical times, and even down through the Middle Ages, often wasn't based on love. In many cultures, marriages were arranged, and it was more of a partnership to help make your way through life. And oftentimes love grew between the couple over the years, but it didn't start out that way. With Rebekah, there's another factor compounding it too. You see, in those days it was considered the proper thing to do to marry within your family. The idea was that doing so kept your bloodline pure. So often people would end up marrying a distant cousin or something like that. So when Abraham was getting older, before he died, he wanted to make sure Isaac had a wife. But because Abraham had gone off to Canaan, the only relatives he has are back in Mesopotamia. So Abraham sent his servant Eliezer to one of his relatives there to find a wife for Isaac. When Eliezer arrived, it was late in the day, at the time of day when the women came out to the well to draw water for the evening. Eliezer made his camels kneel down there and prayed to God that as the town's women came out, he would ask one of them for a drink of water, and that the one he asked and who gave him a drink would be the one God had chosen for Isaac. And sure enough, before his prayer was even finished, he saw Rebekah coming out with her water jar, and she gave him a drink and watered his camels as well. And that's when Eliezer discovered that she was indeed Abraham's relative. Eliezer engaged in negotiations with Rebekah's father about all this, and surprisingly they ended up asking Rebekah what she thought about the whole thing. Now let's pause here to reflect on all this. Rebekah is being asked to leave her home and everyone she knows, most likely never to see any member of her close family again, to head off to a strange land she's never seen and marry somebody she's never met. And she agrees to do it. That bit of giving herself to God's will amazes me. What astounding trust. Then Rebekah went with Eliezer back to be Isaac's wife. Once more, however, we have a story of a woman who couldn't seem to bear children. However, Isaac prayed for his wife, and she did conceive, and it turned out that she bore twins. One was named Esau, and one named Jacob. It is important to know that of the two, Esau was born first. In those days, the firstborn received the inheritance, and usually the father's blessing as well. When Isaac grew old, he intended to give his blessing to Esau, who was a man's man. Jacob, on the other hand, stayed around the tents, often helping his mother. When the time came to give the blessing, Isaac had grown blind, and Esau was out hunting, and so Rebekah dressed Jacob in Esau's clothes, and together they fooled Isaac into giving the blessing to Jacob instead. Well, you can bet this didn't go over well with Esau, and Jacob had to flee for his life. But that's another story. For today, we need to look at Rebekah's role. Truthfully, her role is a bit mixed and muddled. At first, we are so impressed that Rebekah is a woman of such deep faith that she leaves everything behind to be part of what God was doing through Isaac. If only we could have faith like that. But then she participates in this deception of her husband, favoring one of her children over the other. Maybe there's another way to see this that puts it in a new light. In the marriage, we saw in Rebekah a woman who was sensitive and responsive to God's plan, and who did everything she could to help it along and be part of it. It may be that Rebekah sensed that God's promise was meant to go forward through her son Jacob and not her son Esau. And so again, she gave herself to that and did what she could to be part of God's plan. Seen that way, Rebekah is a model of faith and love, who cared for her family, but who put God first of all. She entrusted both of her children to God's plan and purpose. In that way, Rebekah is a model of motherhood and faith. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.